U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov met in Zurich in Switzerland on Wednesday, and the two tried to resolve differences over who is eligible to join UN-mediated peace talks for Syria, which is due to begin next week in Geneva. And both sides said they do not want delay in the talks. Now, for more on that, earlier we spoke to our correspondent Jack Barton in Davos.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov really trying to ensure that those peace talks, the first official peace talks to try and end the conflict in Syria, go ahead here in Switzerland next week. The US and Russia, as well as the other 15 countries in the negotiations, have agreed to the broad framework in that if a peace deal can be signed, then an interim government should be formed within 6 months. If that happens, elections should be held within a year. And the US and Europe have also softened their initial resistance to the idea of President Assad being a part of the interim government. The real differences now seem to lie in terms of the pro-Assad militias or the opposition rebels, who should be allowed at the negotiating table, which groups should be deemed to be terrorists or not. We heard from Lavrov after the meeting. He said he and Kerry had both agreed that the al-Nusra Front and the Islamic State group known as ISIL should be excluded. He said they should be annihilated. But another complicating factor is that Iran, which recently cut off diplomatic ties with Saudi Arabia, of course is a big backer of the Assad government. Saudi Arabia, a big backer of the anti-Assad rebels. 90% of the agreement seems to be in place at the moment. There are efforts to get the remainder of the agreement in place over the coming days, but still no guarantee that those peace talks are going to go ahead on the 25th here in Switzerland. Jack Barton, CCTV, Davos.